Oh, speaking of Twitter and Facebook, let me find this. Where does I've got to find Zuckerberg. I got to find this story. Where did I put this story? Did I put it near the end? The Facebook billionaire, Mark Zuckerberg, number 40 on the Forbes list. Zuckerberg refinanced the mortgage on his house. He's got a house in California, $5.9 million house, and he's got an adjustable rate mortgage. He refinanced it. It's a 30-year adjustable rate, so he's taking a little risk. But since he's willing to do it, he got an interest rate of just over 1%. And he has reduced his payment over the course of the 30 years if nothing changes he's reduced his payments by $750,000. Now, I want to find the story because actually I have two of them. One of the stories kind of mocks him. Why in the world is Zuckerberg have a mortgage, and why is Zuckerberg out hunting for a deal? Well, darn it. I just now remembered that I've got it, but I don't remember where I put it, which is the problem, folks, when the show takes place with literally 300 pieces of paper every day, and it's not possible to do it on a computer. Anyway, the story is complaining about how a rich guy can get this kind of interest rate when you, an average American, can't. You don't have the collateral necessary to get a 30-year adjustable rate mortgage. His interest rate is basically the way it's termed in the story free money. They are lending Zuckerberg money for less than it costs them to get the money. It's free money. The interest rate they're charging him is less than what the bank is charged to get the money from the Fed. Well, that's why I wish I could find the story. It's a function of him willing to do a 30-year adjustable rate. Who knows, in 10 years, the rate could go to 10%. You never know. And it's also because he's got all kinds of assets as collateral to be able to withstand a huge uptick in the ARM. Now, the real question is here's a guy. I know a lot of it's paper, but still, he's number 40 on the Forbes list. What, 12 or 14 billion dollars? Yeah, why not just buy it outright? Why mortgage the thing? Well, the answer is, well, no, because for him, the tax consequence, when you're at his level, you only get to deduct. In fact, you may not get to deduct anything anymore on a mortgage. It used to be the most recent rule, unless it's been wiped out, was that somebody in Zuckerberg's income level could only take the mortgage interest deduction on the first million of the mortgage. And that may have been totally wiped out. If it hasn't been, it will be at some point. So he's either one of two things: establishing a credit rating, making a payment every month just to establish the credit rating. Everybody wants and needs a credit rating. And then he's got credit cards. Trust me on this. The second thing, and probably as likely, if not more, why use your own when you can use somebody else's, particularly when they're going to give it to you? The bank is essentially giving him the money. Why use your own money when somebody else will give it to you? So he's basically having a $6 million house bought for him by the bank. And well, look, I can't explain. Snurdly's asking me, you mean you tell me this guy with $14 billion cares about the expense of a $5 million house? He might. He's not that far removed from being a penniless college student. He's still in the formative years. You go from having nothing to having all kinds of money. It takes a while to accept that you've got it and that they're not going to take it away from you. Now, what if Facebook goes belly up next year? It could look at how fast it came out of nowhere, and then look how fast Yahoo took the plunge. These things can come and go. So I think value-based might be somewhat decent. I don't know. But the real thing here is the interest rate is so low. It's 1.05%. That he's basically got a house that somebody else is buying. Now, he's paying it back. I think his monthly payment's like $21,000. Something like that. And here's the headline, Business Insider. That's not the story I had, but here's Mark Zuckerberg is so rich he lives in his $6 million house for free. Zuckerberg taking the mortgage because the interest rate's so low that he can invest the cash that he would have spent on the house risk-free and get a higher rate of return than the rate at which he's borrowing. So he buys a house for $6 million, and rather than take his $6 million and sink into it, he's going to take the $6 million, this is theoretical, that he would have sunk into the house and put it in some other investment that's going to have a growth rate far greater than what if he'd bought the house. Meanwhile, it's not his money he's buying the house with. He just refinanced with a 30-year adjustable rate loan starting at 1.05% because 1.05% is below the current rate of inflation, which is somewhere between 2 and 3%. Zuckerberg essentially is borrowing for free, according to Greg McBride, who is a financial analyst with Bankrate Inc. Bankrate, by the way, up in North Palm Beach. One of my close friends, one of my golfing buddies, owns Bankrate. It doesn't stop Bankrate from ripping me in their editorials, but still they do. Still, he's a good friend of mine. They monitor, among other things, Bankrate monitors interest rates to the nth degree and offers advice to clients that pay for it. So Zuckerberg is still paying the bank something every month, the principal on his loan. But that's not really a cost because he's getting equity in his house. He's putting money into a piggy bank. If he ever sold the house, he'd get all that money back, and the amount of money he spent on living in the house would be close to zero. So if anything, he would turn a profit. But this deal, that 1.07 interest rate's not available to you. It's a 30-year ARM, and he's only able to get it because he's got all those assets out there that will handle if that ARM, if that interest rate skyrockets to 5 or 10% down the road. You know, as happened to many people in the subprime mortgage area. They had ARMs, they invested them, and all of a sudden the rate went up, and they couldn't pay the monthly payment. And they got foreclosed on, and they came in, that's not fair, it's not fair. Wait a minute, you signed the ARM deal. You had to know it's adjustable rate. You had to know that interest rate may not stay there for the whole 30 years you own. Well, it's not fair. Not fair. I didn't know the interest rate would jump up that. Remember all those stories? That's why you don't get 30-year adjustable rate loans, because unless you have the assets to back up the wild fluctuations that take place. Snurdly just asked me in the break, do you have deals like this? I do not. I probably shouldn't get this personal, but I'll just tell you, folks, how do I do this? My experience has been just the opposite of what we have seen in this Zuckerberg story. I have never, well, no, that's not, I can't say never, but mostly when people see me, they see a chance to charge even more. I don't see these deals. I don't see all of this funny manipulation, great opportunities. So that's I hear about it. I hear about all this stuff, but with my experience is I'm overcharged everything. Let's put it this way. Nobody is ever offering me opportunities to save money. Everybody's always trying to find a way to get into my back pocket. Let's just put it that way. So all this talk about how, well, that's just it. All I'm telling you is that many things that you think that you know about, it isn't the way you think. And there's so many myths out there about wealthy people, and for every Zuckerberg out there, I guarantee you there's a sucker paying 3.7% on his loan. Not one. No, I'm not telling you that. No, I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you that I know people. No, I better not go there. I don't know. It's just basic economics is, to me, something that's just common sense. It seems so hard to understand basic economics. Like the question, okay, you got Zuckerberg, a $6 million house, a $7 million house. There were two rules of thumb. One is buy it. Don't owe anybody anything. Never, ever go into debt. And the other rule of thumb is use somebody else's money. Don't tie up your money. If you can get that house at a 1% interest rate and a 30-year mortgage, take it. You're living free, and then take whatever you would use to buy the house and invest it in something with a much greater return. In other words, the Zuckerberg, I guess the moral of that story is the rich people don't want to tie up their money in real estate, which might not go up as fast as some other investment. And that's the thinking behind Zuckerberg's move. But I don't know how many people get a 1% interest rate.